Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast, episode 55 for June 12th, 2023.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that is the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast. I'm Matt, along with the always lovely and almost to be double nickel, just like our title, Double Nickel 55, Coach Amy. How are you?
Ooh.
Yes, like I caught on to that.
Ah, yes, it's coming up soon.
Almost 1 month to the day.
And let's think about this.
What?
What's the alternative? I just want people, when they start thinking about they're getting old,
You wake up on the right side of the side.
what is the alternative?
Not good. Not good.
I mean, you know,
Hey, you're still vibrant and healthy and
sure,
stuff.
stuff. At least I'm trying. That's my big thing. You got to keep trying. If you quit trying, then that's when you've actually quit.
Well, and
I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to keep going. Well, I guess I kind of am a quitter. I did quit alcohol.
Oh, there you go.
Trying to
See?
quit. I'm
There's
trying to
good
quit.
quitting. Not all quitting's bad.
Good quitting, bad quitting, but no, I'm trying. Just
Know when to quit. So that's no
no one
to
to
quit.
fold them, Matt. No one to fold them. No one to hold them.
Kenny. And tomorrow's my parents' tomorrow when this publishes will be my parents' wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't ask me how many years. 60-ish, some a lot. Can't be 60. Maybe. I don't know. I'd run the math on that, kids. But anyway,
Is it?
I don't know. We'll have to get the calculator after this. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. Don't forget to like.
Think it is.
Oh, we better figure that out.
Because didn't your dad bought the shop?
The same year they got me. No, I don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
Oh, wow.
That's not for now because we don't know the answer to that
I
question.
know we don't, but anyways, a long time.
Long time.
Long time.
Well, we have a great interview to get to, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, kids. And don't forget to go to joyonthersideCom where you can get our 7 tips, the 5 o'clock summer alcohol-free edition that I'll never
I think
say.
what we're going to do is we are going to make this even simpler. It's just going to be our 7 tips.
It's called 7 tips.
Our 7 tips for quitting or...
See, you keep making it longer still. Our 7 tips for quitting alcohol
Well, you
at
have
5
to...
o'clock.
No. Okay, you want to quit? We got 7 tips.
There you
Boom. Or are you sober curious? 7 tips.
7 tip.
Want
Quit.
to take a break? 7 tips.
7 tip. Quit lit. There you go. Oh, see what I did there? Oh, fancy. We don't have a drink a week this week, kids, but you can always go to Go Brewing.
We have lots of drinks of the week.
We have plenty of drinks of the weeks, but you can always go to our link in the show notes. We get $5 off your first order to Go Brewing, our friends over there.
Yeah, $5 off. I'm really kind of excited about Maggie going and being at NIU
Because we're gonna take the long way.
because we're
up.
gonna make the long way. We're gonna do a we're gonna come see you on Saturday, so we'll go up on Friday,
Go
hang
that
out
way,
there
and then go
on
there.
a Friday evening,
There you go.
and then
We will be taking the long way there every time.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or at least a long way home, so we can. Well, she's gonna want us to stop and get her stuff
True.
at the what is it? H Mart.
H Mart. Yeah. So we go up, not back.
Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
the going up. That would be very good.
All right. Well, speaking of traveling, Amy,
Yes.
tell us about our interviewee, Racquel Reid, who is a world globe traveler now and coach.
She is.
Which is
She
like-
is a digital nomad.
Yeah, when we talked to her, she was in Colombia.
Colombia. Yes. I think she was on her
Way sexier than the cornfields of Central Illinois.
third move, and she is just kind of...
She has one more move, and she's going to do another country then. And
Yeah, but she's just kind of immersing herself into the different cultures, and...
it's pretty cool. Sold all of her stuff. And I think
Yeah,
it's in the interview.
yeah,
so let's
it's
just
in
get
the
to that,
interview.
yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and just give a little intro. Racquel, she ditched the drink over 11 years ago, and by design, she crafted a small and safe life that made her feel stuck. Life is supposed to be great after you remove the substance. However, she was crippled with self-doubt and still carried tremendous shame for her actions while under the influence. She lived small and felt living big was dangerous. After searching for fulfillment in food, shopping, and a few failed relationships, she had enough and committed to creating a spectacular, purposeful life. She trained in meditation to reconnect with her soul and took up yoga to reconnect her with her body. She lost over 70 pounds and became an avid cycler and coastline hiker. She ignited her passion for learning, which ignited her passion for empowering other women. This led to her becoming a This Naked Mind certified coach. Her and I were in the same cohort together. And for the first time in years, she felt truly alive and empowered and free. And right now, as Matt was saying, she has now taken her passion for travel, and she has created this nomadic life, and it's full-time travel with no return date. And this is something that she has always dreamt of doing. She is currently traveling through South America, and this year's motto for her is "It's time for a new adventure." Racquel has developed a great one-on-one coaching offered called Unleash, Embracing the Spirit of Freedom, a Journey to Thriving Alcohol-Free. And you can find all of that at racquelreid.com, and we will have the link there for you. And the one last thing is, through a combination of science, proven strategies, and compassionate guidance, and a sprinkle of rebel magic, you'll gain the tools and mindset to create a life that reflects who you truly are. So let's go to the interview. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. And we are here with my friend, Racquel Reid, and she is in Colombia.
The country,
not
the city of.
Not in a state over. So we're pretty excited about this interview. I met you during our coaches training, and we were on a lot of calls together, and that friendship has just continued, and we support each other. And I was just so excited when you said, yes, you'd come on to the podcast. And again, thank you so much. You're living your dream, and I can't wait to get into all of this with you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Thanks to both you and Matt.
We are, and you are actually originally from Canada, correct?
I am. Yeah. Nova Scotia, Canada.
That is, yeah. So, but now you're way south. So that's so
south.
Exciting. I won't get into all the things about Canadians that we know about. Ours is that the Canadians, whenever you're in Florida in the middle of the winter, are swimming. Where everybody else is not.
Too cold. Yeah.
Everybody's like, it's freezing. And I'm like, oh, nope, they're the Canadians. And you go over and you say hello, and they are. And always, that was my first encounter with people from Canada. And they're awesome people.
Wow, we're so worldly.
We are. Well, we were at Disney World.
That's true. Good point. It is.
We were at Disney World.
It could have been my parents, because they used to winter in Florida.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's just, I think it's just kind of funny. And I also have a couple of friends who live out in Phoenix, and they always talk about the Canadians come down and they're there. And now they just recently left and they've gone back.
She's just extreme Canadian. She went way south.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, I would like to just jump in again and just see if we can just tell us your story, because I know that your story is a lot different from a lot of the other This Naked Mind coaches. So do you want to go ahead and just get started?
Yes, happy to. So I've been alcohol-free now for over 11 years. And I started in Alcoholics Anonymous. When I decided that alcohol was no longer serving me, there weren't a lot of options for me as far as recovery and treatment. So one of the only things that was available was Alcoholics Anonymous. So I joined, and I dove in feet first and gave it my all, and had to make it work because I didn't really have a choice. Today, I think people are very fortunate, because there's just a multitude of wonderful programs that they can choose from. And, they're all really, really good, a lot of them. it doesn't, it's not one or the other anymore. Like they can find the program that suits them. I can hear the thunder, so hopefully it's not too loud.
Oh, no, it's fine.
So I started drinking. I grew up in rural Nova Scotia, and that's kind of the thing that you did on the weekends. Wasn't a lot to do. So drinking was big in the culture. And I grew up, going out in the weekends occasionally and drinking, and usually it was drinking to in excess. We'd steal it from our parents or find someone to go to the liquor store for us and get it for us. And then that continued into my 20s. It was just, it was occasional. It wasn't on a regular basis, but whenever I did it excessively. And I was always the last one up and the one to make sure that there was no alcohol left before I went to bed. And then I hit like my late 20s. I got pregnant with my son and didn't really drink again for a number of years. And I didn't miss it. I didn't really give it a second thought. And then when my son was around 5 years old, that was kind of when the mommy wine culture was just starting to emerge then. Prior to that, people just didn't drink alone. It wasn't something you did. And if you did it, you didn't talk about it. But now it was being celebrated as this kind of chic, sophisticated thing to do, to come home in the evening and have a glass of wine while you're cooking supper for you and your son, or alone. And so there was a real shift in the perspective around alcohol. Alcohol was becoming much more, it wasn't such a, growing up, it was always a very social thing. Like you did it with other people, you wouldn't do it alone. And that was really starting to shift. So of course I wanted to jump on the chic and sophisticated. So I was a small town girl living in the city. So yes, I wanted to be chic and sophisticated. So I started having a glass of wine while I was making supper. And I really enjoyed it because it was a nice way for me to kind of shift from the workday and, all the pressures of being a solo mom into the evening and relax with my son. I didn't see, like, it took me a long time to see that there was no relaxation. There was no, there was nothing really nice about it. It was an illusion. And I had, I really bought into the illusion of it. Then after a while, like progress a few years, I was drinking almost a bottle of wine a night. I went from like having an occasional glass to having a glass 3-4 nights a week to every weekend and a couple of weeknights. And then and it just slowly built up over time. And I was drinking about a bottle of wine a night. And then even that, after a couple more years, that increased to 2 to 3 bottles of wine a night. I was like passing out on the couch most evenings with my son. And I was not going out and partying. I was a solo mom. I had a very demanding job. Basically, I'd work all day. I'd come home and drink all evening, pass out, go to bed, repeat. And that was my life. And yeah, then it progressed and it started to get quite bad. I was passing out. I was not, my son, it got to a point where he wasn't safe with me. He was only like 9-10 years old and basically had no real person looking out for him because I was intoxicated when we were together in the evenings. So it was in September. It was a long weekend. And not drinking on the weekends was very, very hard for me. And it was getting to the point where I would drink in the evenings and then I would get up in the morning, like on the weekends. Through the week, I would never drink during the day because I was at work. And I called myself a functioning alcoholic, but I was not functioning at all. That was another illusion that I had created. I was getting by, I was existing, but I was not functioning. And so on the weekends, I could have a drink in the morning to kind of take the edge off of that hangover that I would wake up with. And then that would start, like, I would have a drink and unknowingly what was happening, I was still intoxicated from the night before. I would get up and after a couple of hours of trying to suffer through the morning, I'd have another drink. And what do you know, 2 or 3 drinks later, and I'm intoxicated all over again after just a few drinks because I still have so much blood or so much alcohol in my bloodstream from the night before. So it was just, I mean, it was a shit show. And this one weekend, it was a long weekend. It was the weekend before school was going back, and Liam, my son, wanted to go to the beach. The beach was about a half an hour from our home. So it was a beautiful, beautiful, sunny, hot weekend. So I said, okay, we'll go to the beach. So I woke up, we had planned it. I woke up that morning and I was like, I am not going to drink because I want to go to the beach with Liam. And I knew what would happen if I did. Then, of course, a couple of hours later, I'm feeling worse and worse and worse, like just the feelings of dread and anxiety. And I didn't realize that I was in alcohol withdrawal from drinking the night before. Like, I know these things now, but I didn't know it then. And so, of course, I had a drink to take the edge off, just to kind of calm my nerves, so to speak. And I didn't know that the vicious cycle that I was restarting, that I had gone through the night before of, now I'm going to want a second drink because the euphoria of that first one is going to wear off in about 20 minutes. So now I'm going to want a second one even more. And then I'm going to want a third one even more. And then I'm right back where I didn't want to be. And that's exactly what happened. And I even took wine with me in a coffee cup, in a travel mug, to the beach. So we went and we stayed at the beach for a few hours and then came home. And there was no way in this world that I should have been driving the car. So when I came home, I was really, I was really upset, and I was really kind of just detached from the whole situation. And I knew that this could not continue. Something really, really bad was going to happen. So I called his dad, and his dad had always been like, he was very involved, very supportive, but had no idea what was really going on behind closed doors, because Liam didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about it. I wasn't honest with anyone. So I called him and told him what was going on. And I said, he's not safe with me. Can he come and stay with you for a while? He did. At that time, he was spending 2 nights a week at his dad's, but I wanted him to go live there until I got myself sorted out. So his dad, of course, said, yes, absolutely, bring him over. So the next day, we packed up his things and we moved him into his dad's. And, I kind of thought that couldn't get much worse than that, because here I am having to send my heart to live with someone else, because I can't take care of him. And like, my son and I were so close. We were just best friends, and it was devastating for both of us. So I thought, okay, now I've really got to get my act together and get this sorted out, figure out what's going on, why I keep drinking so much when I don't want to, when I'm trying not to. And I would joke that I'm a functioning alcoholic, but I didn't really believe that I was an alcoholic. I figured I just had a bad habit that I had to figure out how to break. And it went from bad to worse. With Liam gone, it was kind of, all the responsibilities were gone, and it just snowballed out of control. And then by November, his birthday's in November, I went to his birthday party, and it was on a weekend. It was the same kind of thing. I didn't want to drink. And of course I did. And I went to the party, and he asked me to leave because he saw that I had been drinking. And it broke his heart that I was there and I had been drinking. He was excited to see me until he saw me. So I left there. That was at the end of November. And within a week, I had checked myself into a 28-day rehab, because I just, I had gone to a few AA meetings at this point. I had started talking to people about what was going on. I started looking for help, and I was trying to moderate in every way possible. And I was trying to manage it in every way possible, and just nothing was working. And I would do the moderation thing where, okay, I'm not going to drink like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So then I would not drink Monday, and I'd maybe not drink Tuesday. I'm like, see there, no problem. I've got this figured out. I can drink on Wednesday.
Yep.
Clearly, I don't have an issue. I just, I'm just drinking more than I should. So, and that was, these were the games that I would play with myself. So I went to this 28-day rehab. It was a great program. I was in a very caring, safe place. Everybody in my family was happy that I had done this, that, I was taking care of myself. And I came out and I drank again. I couldn't wait to drink again, even though I really didn't want to drink again. And so, and then that just started another, spiral. Like everybody, my son included, thought that when I came out of rehab, I'd be fixed. I'd be better. There'd be nothing wrong. We'd go back to life as normal. And that didn't happen.
And because I've heard that so many times that people will go and they'll check in, and is it because the real issues are not addressed, or is that why?
I think so. It's kind of like, they do the best they can with what they have. And it's, they keep you in this beautiful, safe, protected bubble for 28 days where they feed you great food and there's all kinds of fellowship and people in there in the same situation that you're in. So you're completely protected from life. And then you leave, and it's kind of, I went back to my home with all of these bad memories. And I went back to my job with all of these bad memories and all of the, all the stress and anxiety and just doing life was still there. And that had not been addressed at all. It was, it was kind of like, you're an alcoholic and you can't drink safely. And this is why you're an alcoholic. And these are the steps to do, and do this and you'll feel better.
And,
it didn't quite work.
And you don't dive into anything.
Not really. No. I mean, there is some depth to it for sure. Like there's a lot of, taking responsibility for your life, kind of righting your wrongs and looking at character defects, which I absolutely hate that term because we are not defective in any way. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, but it doesn't really, like, for me, I think what I needed was, like I didn't have really any sense of self-worth. I had no self-esteem. I had a very, very poor image of myself just because of all of the chatter going on in my mind, and none of that was addressed at all. So it just, the cycle continued until it got to a point where I knew that if I did not stop drinking, like, it was going to destroy my child's life, and it was going to destroy my life. Like, to me, death felt imminent at that point because I had, by that time I had lost everything. I'd lost my job. I'd lost my son. Like, what was next? Right.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of woke up one day and decided I'm going to give this absolutely everything I've got. Everything I've got. I'll try one more time. And thankfully, here we are 11 years later. That one more time worked.
And that one more time, talk to us a little bit about that. What, you finally had it in you where you're like, okay, I got to do this. But what did that look like then for you?
It was like every other time prior to that, because what the time span between that moment and the day I got out of rehab was 10 months.
Okay.
And during that 10 months, like I became a binge drinker. I would go on a binge for 3 or 4 days, and then I would not drink for a couple of months. And then I'd go on a binge for a week or two and then not drink for a couple of months. And then I'd go on a binge for 3 or 4 weeks and not drink for a couple of months. Like, the binges were getting longer and much, much scarier. Really, really bad. And I had lost my job. I wasn't working at this point. They had given me a beautiful severance package to get rid of me, basically, because I was, I had become a liability to them. And so I was living off this severance package that they had given me. And yeah, it's kind of like every other time that I had decided to stop drinking, it was kind of, I held on to this belief, like, I'm going to stop drinking and I'm going to get everything sorted out, get my life back on track, and then I can drink like a normal person. Yeah. This is the belief that I had in my mind, because I didn't think I was normal. So if I could just figure out how to drink like a normal person, then I'd be okay. And there was never any talk about alcohol itself, about the substance. It was always, what's wrong with the alcoholic?
Yeah.
the alcoholic's defects and, what's wrong with them, how they're different from other people. It was never about, you're drinking an addictive substance. And if you keep
Yeah.
doing this shit, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing that for years. Even into sobriety, I didn't hear that for years. It wasn't until I found Annie Grace that I finally heard that.
Yeah. Well,
And
go ahead.
yeah, so it was the day that I left alcohol behind for good. I woke up that day and I sat on my couch and I started to cry and I said, this is it. Like I'm never drinking again. I don't want to drink again. This is killing me. It's killing my son. Like it's hurting my family. There's just nothing good is coming from this, and nothing good ever will come from this. So this is it. I'm done. And I was. And I never looked back. Didn't crave it, wasn't triggered to drink. Like it was just, I made that firm decision and that was it.
I think your story is a good story that shows like, yeah, eventually one day you woke up and you stopped drinking, but it wasn't the first day you woke up like that, right? And, you clearly had that up and down that hill and valley, and you have a lot of those telltale signs of, oh, well, it helps calm me down. Well, but the alcohol causes all that anxiety or elevates all that anxiety. Even if you have anxiety, it gets even that much worse. And then, yes, it does calm the anxiety that it's causing. So it's like, put this on. Yeah, it'll dampen the fire for a hot second, but it's going to make it worse in the end. And it's interesting, you sent your son to live with his dad, thinking that was going to give you a chance to work on yourself. But the power of the alcohol of, well, now you were left unchecked. Like he was the only thing keeping any kind of a governor on your drinking, and left completely unchecked. You're like, well, it's easier to just keep on trucking. Yeah. It's an interest. It just shows the power that the alcohol can have when you don't kind of work on yourself more and look at yourself and look at the substance and all that. And you get trapped in that cycle. And you're right. I mean, you were clearly right, not heading down a very productive, healthy road where you were.
Yeah. Yeah. When Leon left, it was kind of like he was the guardrails on my drinking and they were loose, believe me. But when he left, they were gone. And there was no, like, I didn't know how to figure this out on my own. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't like AA, and I didn't really want to keep going to moldy church basements every day of my life for the rest of my life. Like that was the future that was in front of me. With it did not appeal to me in any way, but I didn't know what to do. So it was kind of,
you have this epiphany, you move forward, and so you still did go to the meetings, but there was more there. What happened then? Because I know you got yourself healthy, and how did you go about doing that?
It wasn't in AA. I did let go of alcohol in AA, and that took care of that piece for me. And it kind of put guardrails back on my life, but it wasn't like I didn't get my mind and my spirit healthy until I kind of started to withdraw from AA because it like the whole idea that I was powerless, like I was a lot of things, but was never ever powerless. I was incredibly disempowered, but I was never powerless. So I could not get my head around that at all. And so I always felt like in a meeting, there was all this cognitive dissonance because everybody would talk about how powerless they were over alcohol. I'm like, well, I'm not. I stopped drinking. Clearly, I'm not powerless over this.
Yeah.
So after about 4 years in AA, I kind of started to distance myself from it a bit. And that's when I really started to work on myself, not my drinking, because I was a non-drinker now. So I didn't need to work on staying sober. I was a non-drinker. That was my life. My entire life revolved around non-drinking. And so now it was time to work on me. So I kind of started looking for connections with other women who were in similar situations. So I grabbed some women from the rooms and we started a hiking group, and it was non-AA. And we would go out, like in Nova Scotia, we've got the most beautiful coastlines. Like it's just stunning. And we'd go hiking along the coast every weekend. And there was a lot of, a lot of crying and a lot of laughing, but just real genuine connection with other women. That was really important. And then I delved into, I used to train in meditation when I was drinking, which was rather difficult to do when you're drunk. So I got back into that and really started diving into that on a deeper level. And I used to do a lot of retreats. I started putting on retreats. And that kind of like, I spent thousands of hours on those cushions. So that kind of opened things up for me. And I was able to look at myself in a way that I hadn't been able to before. And that was kind of with gentle eyes. Like I was able to see myself for who I was and not for who I thought I should be or what I expected myself to be. And that was an incredible gift, because just, bringing that level of compassion and acceptance into yourself is just so freaking powerful.
Yeah. And you don't have that when you're drinking.
You don't.
You don't.
can't.
I want to tell people it's impossible to have that full compassion for yourself. You can say it a lot, but I don't believe, even for myself, I don't think it came for almost a year after I had quit drinking. Like it took a while to actually be able to say, I kind of like this person again.
Yeah.
So
she's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, so are you. I'll tell you what. This is so, and I love the fact that you went in and picked out other women and said, let's do this. I think that's so ahead of the game. I mean, really. Because where were you at when you found Annie Grace's work?
It was about 7 years alcohol free when I found Annie. And when a friend of mine told me about the book, they said, you've got to read this book. It's really, really good. So I picked it up and I was rather skeptical because the front said control alcohol. And of course, like I still came from that mindset, like you can't control alcohol. And you kind of can't. Alcohol controls you, but you can control yourself. You're not, you're not powerless. So I started reading it and it was just like mind blown. It was the first time that I learned so much from it, and I was 7 years alcohol free. And I had no idea the effects that alcohol had on my, the dopamine and dynorphin cycle, the anxiety. Like I didn't realize that I had started taking benzodiazepines. I had to go to my doctor. My anxiety was so bad when I was drinking. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was anxiety until I started Googling what are these freakish symptoms that I'm having. Then I found out it was anxiety. I'm like, oh, this is new. I've never had this before. I wonder what's causing it. So I went to my doctor and told her about the anxiety. So she gives me a prescription for benzodiazepine. I had to start taking those because by 3:00 in the afternoon, while at work, having not drank all day long, I was starting to have panic attacks at 3:00 in the afternoon. I'd pop a benzo. I'd be okay until I got home from work. That started about 6 months before I stopped drinking. That's how bad the anxiety had gotten. And I didn't realize that alcohol was driving it. Like Matt, you mentioned, putting a damp cloth. Drinking with anxiety is like putting a damp cloth with gasoline on the fire.
Right.
It truly
And I had no idea.
Well, and the risk there is now you could end up with a benzo habit and the alcohol habit, and now you're doubling down on problems. Yeah,
Yep,
you're gonna have to
exactly.
try both, and that it's making your hill that much more steep. So, I mean, I think doctors have all the best intentions, but if they're not asking all the right questions, then it's like, oh, well, hold on. Yes, you have anxiety. Let's look at your lifestyle and see if any of that's playing into it, instead of piling, here's some kerosene to go with your gasoline.
Yeah.
Well, you don't make any money. You don't make any money off of that. You know,
True.
that's
That's
the thing.
true.
It's like, oh, all right, well, here you go. I've got this.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
mean,
I was on the same road. I'm like, I
oh,
had,
I
I
know.
had, I had my Xanax prescription that I didn't take it terribly often, but I did use it. And the anxiety that I was taking it for, same thing. It was because
Yeah.
the alcohol was causing the anxiety.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
I was on antidepressants and I was on anxiety meds as well.
Mhm.
And it it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like, okay, you know what? Hey, let's look at this other issue. There's clearly an issue here. But again, we all know that we lie when we go to the doctor and they ask us how much we're going to drink. And
Right.
as I told my therapist when I went back after, you know, because she had never asked me. And then I had a panic attack first, and but I was able to take care of it. I
Yeah.
mean, I was able to calm myself down after being 2 years out. And but having that conversation with her, and she even said, she goes, I had no idea. She's like, you didn't fit
Yeah.
the bill. You didn't fit that profile. And I told her, I go, I'm gonna let you off the hook. I would have lied. I mean, I'm just gonna say that I would have lied. I would like to say that I was better than that, but no.
So I'm curious,
No.
Racquel, did you experience like, I'm assuming yes, but it's a leading question, I guess. But like you said, you mentioned like the yoga and that type of stuff, right? That you worked on. And what kind of improvements did you notice when you quit? Like the benefits that you were getting from doing those activities that you maybe weren't, that you thought you maybe were getting beforehand, but it's like, oh wow, it really works a lot better when I'm not hungover or drunk or whatever. Like what was that experience like of doing those activities alcohol free?
So the meditation, I think, was the biggest one for me because that helped me get to know myself in a way that would not have been possible, I don't think, without it. And it kind of created this environment where I could regulate my emotions. Whereas prior to that, I had completely detached from my emotions. Like I remember having a conversation with someone and they said something like it was another woman in recovery, and we were having a very deep, honest conversation with one another. And she asked me something and it was quite upsetting. And she said, where do you feel that? I'm like, I how would I even begin to answer that question? I don't know where I feel things. Like they're just there. Like I don't even know what they are half the time. Like I was just completely detached from my feelings and emotions. So that was one of the things that meditation gave me is I started to be able to recognize what was going on. And I was actually even able to identify where in my body I felt that emotion, which was that was pretty amazing to me. Someone that, I drank to kind of counteract the uncomfortable emotions. I didn't realize that I was also numbing out the positive emotions that I wanted to feel. And after a while, I didn't feel much of anything at all. And that did carry over into after alcohol because I didn't know how to feel things properly. And when I did, when I did feel things, it was kind of like an overreaction because they weren't like my emotions. There was no regulation on my emotions at all because I was not connected to them in any way. So that was one of the biggest things that I got from meditation. And with the yoga, there was just this kind of, I started to recognize how beautiful and powerful my body was, how it was designed to carry me through this world, and, just the strength and resilience that your body has after what I had done to it. Like I had taken drunkorexia to the next level by the time I stopped drinking. I couldn't really eat much of anything at that point. My stomach was so, the gut flora was gone. Like there was just, my stomach was so bad. I just couldn't keep food down at all.
Oh yeah.
I could if it was very small bites, but so I had lost so much weight. I thought I looked great. I looked like I was dying. I thought I looked awesome.
I hear you.
Oh my
I remember my aunt saying to my mother told me this, that she said, I have never seen Racquel that thin. Is she okay? Is she sick? Is she not telling you something? And, of course, nobody knew. And Mom was just kind of, no, I think she's okay. I didn't look good.
Well, let's talk about the family as well. Then.
Yeah.
So you've quit drinking. You're now getting back in touch with your emotions. You're able to feel again. What is your relationship with like your family, but then most of all, also with your son? How was it mended? Because I would think that there had to be some healing involved with that as well.
Yeah. There was, it was mended very slowly and over time. It was not something that either of us could jump into, because from the time that I came out of rehab to the time that I left alcohol behind, we did try to jump back in. And it didn't work very well. It's not that didn't work. It's that I returned to drinking, and then it was just, he was ripped away again. And so it was just, I couldn't do that in and out to him. I just could not, or to myself. Mm-hmm. So we just very slowly over a period of a couple of years, slowly built up he'd come for dinner a few nights a week. Then he'd come and stay overnight, and then he'd come for a weekend, and then eventually he moved back in.
Oh, wow. And I want to say that, the support from his father through this to you.
He was great. He and his wife were both really wonderful about it. Very, very accepting and non-judgmental, and just open arms to him and anything that they could do for me as well. I was very fortunate.
Yeah, that is, because that's just not typical.
Yeah.
And just in the whole thing, when you have, a child, and it's almost like there would be people who'd be like, oh, well, here, now's my opportunity. I can seize, I can go in, I can get my child. And I mean, I've watched that, and I think that that's wonderful for all of you that you had that.
Well, his dad and I had a unique relationship because we were not exes. We were not in a relationship. We'd been friends for many, many years, and we happened to be at a Blue Rodeo concert, and we had a lot to drink. And all of a sudden, there's a beautiful bouncing baby boy. So we never had any of that ex mentality. It's like, we were friends. I got pregnant. We're still friends. That didn't really change.
Well, that is again a unique story as well. I mean, think about Oh.
Yeah.
So you find Annie Grace's work. We were talking about that, and you were skeptical. Yeah. And then you obviously embraced it, because we're here now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was maybe on chapter 3, and I'm like, oh my God, more people have to know about this. Like, who can I tell? Who can I buy these books for? Because more people have to know about this. I didn't know anything about the podcast. I didn't know anything about the coaching training. I didn't really know about this Naked Mind Institute at that time. It was just, I have to get the word out about this book. This book is amazing, and this book is going to change people's lives. This perspective on alcohol is going to change people's lives. So many people that are never going to go to a moldy church basement, are never going to sit in a meeting 3 or 4 nights a week for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
So it just by chance, I found out about the coaching, and then I heard about the podcast. So I started listening to the podcast, and I heard Scott on the podcast. He was the head coach at the time. Mm-hmm. And then somehow I got on their email list. I think I must have signed up for it somewhere, but I don't remember doing it. It started to magically appear in my inbox. And I've heard that from other people too.
Yeah.
And an email came out about the coach's training. And I talked to my employer at the time, and I said, look, I want to do this. And she said, this is made for you. You have to do this. She knew my history. And so I said, it means I'm going to be leaving here. And she said, yep. And I'm not happy about that, but I'm happy for you. So you go do this. And I said, I'm going to need to kind of probably take some time off to do this studying. And anyway, she fully supported me in it. So I got on the interview and signed up to do the coaches training. And, here I am now, like 2 years later.
Yeah, I love this. And then this past January, right? February, you put your dream into action.
I put my dream into action.
So tell everybody about this dream, because I've known, I think, did you make the announcement like the prior year?
Yeah, it was in motion. Yeah, it was in motion for 10 months.
Yes, yeah. I remember. I was like, okay, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. She's going to do this. She's leaving. Well, I'll let you go ahead and tell everybody what you did.
Yeah,
what you're doing.
So I have always been a wanderlust fueled dreamer. I've always dreamed of traveling and adventure and experiencing new cultures, going to places I've never been, living in places where I don't speak the language and trying to learn the language. And anyway, I never created the opportunity to do that. And whenever I did have an opportunity to travel, I never really had anyone to go with. My son and I did a little bit of traveling. And like after 50, it's just, you just start to, excuse my language, but you just start to say, fuck this. I'm just doing it. Yeah. Like I don't care if I don't have anyone to go with. In fact, I don't think I want to go with anyone. I think this is something I really want to do by myself. So I made the decision 10 months prior to leaving. I was having coffee with a friend one night. And it's funny, he was this guy that I was dating. We had just started dating and we were getting along great. And, it was kind of like, had I stuck around, we might have hit it off, but I didn't. And I knew I wasn't, so we didn't hit it off. And so we were having coffee and we were talking about, 5 years down the road, where do you see yourself kind of thing. And I said, like I've done this. I'm a coach now and I can do it from anywhere in the world. All I need is my laptop and an internet connection. So I really want to travel in a few years. And I want to meet someone who has that interest as well. And he's like, oh yeah, I'd like to do that. And then I don't know, like just thought came over me. I'm like, why don't I do it now? Why am I waiting? Like, why put it off for 5 years? Christ knows what's going to happen in 5 years. I can come up with a million reasons not to do it. And I kind of, as soon as I said it out loud, it was like my whole body embodied that idea of becoming a nomad. And at that moment, I said, I'm going to do it in 18 months. I need a year and a half to get ready. And within probably a week, I cut that down to 10 months and I set my departure date. And I thought, yeah, I can do this. I can get ready. And so I sold everything I own. All I own personally in this world is in my suitcase. Wow. And it's not very much. I did keep a bin of like my son's baby stuff, pictures and things like that. There are 2 Rubbermaid bins that my friend has stored in her garage.
Wow.
That I knew you were doing all of it. And it was so funny because we were getting updates because you and I are in a mastermind together and we're, you're coming in, I'm going to do this. And it was just you could definitely feel your discomfort. Like you were excited, but you had this definite like, okay, I am doing this. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. It was almost that, but it was so amazing to watch you do that. And then the first time I got to see you like at your first location, you were just kind of like, yeah, like almost like in shock. It was like you were in shock. Like for almost maybe, like maybe a month, you were like in shock. And I just remember you got on the calls and it was so cute. You're like, I've done nothing. And I'm like, and we're all like, you've done something. Like, you've done the biggest thing that I know of anybody who's just sold everything and just taken off.
Well, and you
Yeah.
didn't move just like down the street or
No.
a state over. You moved like 5,000 miles away. I mean, you're a good piece away from home.
And this is the third
Yeah.
location you're at now, too.
Second country, third location.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just kind of, inching yourself into different areas.
Do you have a plan, like
Yeah.
a map, a master plan of all the places you're going to go, or is there like, oh, I think I want to go here now?
Oh Lord, Matt, the list grows every day. Time I hear about a new country, it's I start researching and I want to go there, I want to go there. And then I kind of take a deep breath and say, you'll get there. You can't go to 50 different countries on the same day. Like, you'll get there. Just take your time, slow down. So I travel a month at a time. I stay a month at a time in each, at least a month in each place. And I did 2 months in Costa Rica, two different, one on the coast and one in the mountains in the rainforest. And now I'm in Medellin, Colombia, and this city has blown my mind. And I think if I were to settle down somewhere, this would be very high on my list of places to settle down. I absolutely love this city. It's not at all what I expected.
And so you have your suitcase
Mhm.
and your stuff, and you just go and you're like, all right, I'm staying here, Airbnb or something like that.
Yeah.
And has the dream of coaching, how is that working as well for you? Like getting new clients and stuff like that. How's that all working?
I haven't really been pushing that, but it's really kind of opening up for me. Like, I just did a program. Like, I've developed this entire 12-week course that is really freaking awesome. It's like I've taken the last 11 years of working with women in the alcohol freedom area, taken that and kind of taken all the experience I have from that and put it into this course. And it's not your typical kind of stop drinking course. It's kind of it's what I felt was missing was building the foundation of self underneath the stopping drinking. Like, so it's working the two sides of it at the same time, because that's what I was missing. Like, I just got off a call this morning with a woman that I'm coaching, and she said, I'm 10 months without alcohol now, and I live in this safe little bubble. I'm scared to engage in life again. And so many women are in the same situation, like both before and after they stop drinking. Yeah. So that's why I put this into the course. It's kind of like it builds the foundation of self, like acceptance and self-love and compassion and confidence and self-worth, all of that built into it. So it kind of builds you up.
And that moment of, because I had that moment when I was talking in that interview with Coach Scott about becoming a coach, and I almost didn't do it. And there's this part of you, it's like, you kind of go back into that, okay, well, it's not the right time, or, well, maybe in the future, or do you really think you can do this? Who are you to think these things? And I just did like I just went with that. I'm going to do the opposite of what my brain is telling me to do.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a lot of kind of how you've approached like walking through life now after alcohol? It's like
100%. If I listened to what was going on up here, I can tell you I wouldn't be sitting in Medellin right now.
Yes.
No way. No way.
And I think that what the message is, I think we need to tell people when you're, in this whole sophisticated, going back to the mommy wine culture, and here we are, and we deserve this glass of wine. What we're locking ourselves into is this little small bubble.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing when we believe that lie that this is what is going to help us with everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about it now. And I know you do. I've you and I have had long talks about these types of things. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to go and say, no, mama, no, you don't do that. So,
Yeah.
well, how can people get a hold of you? I mean, you're clearly going to have to send them to a website, lady.
Yeah, I move again on Monday, so I'll be in a different part of the city on Monday. I'm staying in Medellin for another month, but yeah, I'm moving to a different part of the city. So that's exciting. I'll get to experience a different side of the city. It's a huge, huge city. So people can find me at racquelreid.com, at my website.
So easy. And
yep.
I will make sure that we put it in, we'll put it in the show notes and everything, how they can get a hold of you. And I just, you're kind of an inspiration for me. I mean, this is kind of what I would like the two of us to eventually, maybe not sell everything.
I was gonna say, you plan a big garage sale, are you?
We could, but to be able to just pick up and go, you know what, we can do that.
My RV plan, I'm telling you.
I know. I'm thinking
Columbia probably, but
I'm thinking the RV plan is starting to have appeal. So
yeah, the RV appeals to me too.
I love it. Well,
but
I just if there's one thing that you can kind of just pass along to everybody about your journey, what do you want to tell that mama who's out there, or that woman who is just feeling like that glass of wine is the end all be all?
I think, I know for myself, that glass of wine kind of took the edges off of my unlived potential.
Wow. I think we will leave it at that then.
Yep.
All righty. Thank you so much for being on our show. And
thanks for having me, guys.
We will send people your way.
Thank you, Racquel. I'm so jealous of your nomadic lifestyle, roaming around, selling all your stuff, living.
Amazing.
So, we're almost full on empty nesters. We could do it.
We're getting close. We're getting close. And I want to just say, Racquel. I love her name.
Yeah.
When I was in Spanish, Amy didn't translate, and so I get to choose my name, and my name was Racquel.
Very dramatic. Very dramatic, as you are.
Because you can roll the R.
Yes. So, be sure and check out Racquel's website. I believe it's racquelreid.com. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yes, and we will put that in the show notes for you.
Yes. All right. Well, kids, thank you for joining us and with this interview this week with Racquel. We will catch you next week. I am Matt, along with Coach Amy, wishing you peace and love, and we are out.